To paraphrase Geddy Lee paraphrasing another person, originality is when you've got so many influences that you're drawing from that when you create something, you don't really know exactly where it came from. That sort of concept or explanation really applies to my song Judy, which is why it's taken me a little while to sort of figure out, is there anything that I want to explain or say about this song? You know, to me, it's pretty self-explanatory. And the way that it's been received by people has been, you know, I haven't had to say much about it. It's pretty straightforward. And I feel pretty lucky for that. You know, this is like the climax of the sort of narrative of this record, you know, because Could I Stay Here, the first single, very much about the sort of cupcake phase, right? Or I guess, you know, you could call it the honeymooning phase or whatever, but, you know, I'm not talking about being married. I'm just talking about the beginning of something. And, you know, it's beautiful and fun. And I mean, there's obviously in Could I Stay Here, there's a little bit of anxiety. Then Judy is, you know, sort of the phase in the record where as you spend more time together with the person and you really get to know them, end up in certain kinds of situations, you ultimately, those different situations sort of expose things about other people and yourself, and you learn. And sometimes the things that you learn are not necessarily very pretty aspects of who you are, or very productive or useful or empathetic or, you know, all of the above. The good thing about it all is you realize you're not a narcissist. That's a good thing to realize, right? That's a great thing. Otherwise, it's, you know, it can be it's a daunting thing, and it's a very human thing. And that is sort of, I think maybe that is the sort of undertone or like the core of what the song Judy, why this song resonates with people so much, because it's about a very sort of ugly, sometimes very painful experience that I would say most people probably, you know, have to face at some point in their life if they want to have a loving, romantic, successful relationship. You know, these are the things that you have to encounter and deal with. These things, and by these things, I mean yourself. You have to sort of make peace with these things or learn how to cope with them. As far as some of the writing goes for Judy, like I said, it came together pretty quickly, but there were certain parts of it where I was sort of intentional about the way that I approached trying to make this sort of classic, almost traditional sounding, tune more, I guess, unique. I don't know. I wanted to try and sort of subvert that thing. I thought about, certain artists that almost kind of break the rules, you know, when they're making something that has a classic feel to it. They do something that when you really think about it is like, that actually makes this a little different than just trying to do something that in any other case would essentially just be a pastiche. And, you know, some pastiche is pretty cool, but that's not really what Judy is or was supposed to be. So, particularly in verse 1, part B, I say something about, I promise you, Judy, I've been keeping it 100. Now, obviously, if you're on the internet, if you've been on the internet in the past, 12 years or something, you know where that comes from. But I just decided to include that in the song because that was probably the most interesting way that I could think of to bring the song, this classic thing, into a modern place, while also subverting the sort of expectation that it's going to be this sort of like literati, sort of like an old love letter. I didn't really want it to be that. I kind of wanted it to live in both spaces. You know, the sound of like a very romantic, sort of fiery, passionate dance, with just a modern, just a little bit of a twist. One artist that I think does this particularly well in a couple of different instances is John Mayer. Contentious figure in some circles, but, for the sake of just art and just being creative, We're not going to mention any of that. And we're going to go ahead and talk about how brilliant the bridge of the song Moving On and Getting Over is. There's a line at the end, near the end of the bridge that goes, "For all my running, I can't understand. I'm one text away from being back again." Now, what's really cool about this is, this song is like, it has this very classic, it's a very modern, it has a modern production feel, but the music is very classic funk, soul, Marvin Gaye-esque sort of thing. And then he throws in this thing about being a text away, and it's this very tasteful, subtle way of sort of subverting the listener's expectations. You have this sense of what this song is, and he throws this sort of little bit of curveball at you, and it's like, oh, okay, now this is a modern take on this classic thing. It's a rather forward-thinking, yet tasteful way of, again, subverting a listener's expectations. Really cool stuff. I'm going to play that song for you now. Moving On and Getting Over by John Mayer from the 2017 album, The Search for Everything. Another aspect of what I think makes Judy a pretty interesting sort of, just a really interesting production is how much of a sort of hodgepodge the whole thing is, as far as how many different processes went into the final product. I decided to be really resourceful. I was at this point where I just wanted to get it done because I knew how I wanted it to sound. And I didn't want to waste too much time having to contact people and get, corral, a bunch of cats or whatever it is, In 2020, when I moved to Nashville, a year before, I had released this song called This Is Goodbye. And you can I think it's still online on Spotify or wherever. I made a video for it and everything. It's on YouTube. You can check it out if you want to. But I decided to try my hand at making an acoustic version when I moved here to Nashville. And then when I started getting into it, and then I thought, well, why not throw some steel guitar on this track? Could be fun. And so I contacted this guy, Steel and Hearts, who's based in Australia. He recorded a couple of tracks for that song, This Is Goodbye. That song is much slower, much more drawn out, different chord progression, all that stuff. But I ended up not doing anything with that version of that song, and I still had the original tracks that Steel and Hearts sent me. And so I transposed the steel guitar tracks, and then I essentially just sort of, let them play, and then I just chopped them up and sort of just moved them around. So essentially I kind of gave this song like a hip hop treatment, but with steel guitar tracks. I don't know. Maybe that might be interesting. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just a testament to how resourcefulness and creativity are really just a matter of being confident and just trusting your gut. Whatever I was thinking, I was right, and that's great. Now there are a couple of songs that I could think of that I really enjoy. I mean, obviously it's mostly country music. But I wanted to pick a real banger for you that you might not have heard before. I mention this song to people all the time because this is one of my favorite country. It's not even really a country song. I think it's more of an Americana vibe, personally. But when I heard this song, this shit blew my mind. I was like, wow, how have I not heard this song before? Like, this is amazing. And that song is Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues by Danny O'Keefe. I talk about this song with people who are like way into country music a lot when we get into these conversations, and they're like, I've never heard that song, or I've never heard that version of this song. This is the definitive original version. Danny O'Keefe wrote this song. It's an incredible song. So I'm going to play that one for you now. Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues by Danny O'Keefe. I've got one more song coming this year, and then the EP will be out. I'm really out on the edge of my seat here. This year's been crazy for me. It's been a lot of life changes, a lot of sudden just bullshit with people. You know how it goes. But that's life. And no matter what you do in life, if you're trying to do something good, there will be opposition. You will be met with opposition, and you just have to accept that. But no matter what it is, I hope you figure it out. And, Godspeed. Signing off. See you soon with the next song. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I really appreciate it. And I hope you just continue to enjoy the music. I'm going to keep making it. And eventually I will make it, right?